Welcome to Behind the Stats here at Chapel Sports Museum and Restaurant. I am Matt Folks, along with Dave O'Hara. Scott Wedman here in the middle, former Kings great and Celtics player. Um, Scott, first off, great series. I'm a Lakers fan. I've told you that, and you and Dave, I feel kind of teamed up here, but uh, Lakers, haven't had the greatest series, and we're actually taping this before the end of the finals. But just your thoughts on the series, and I personally expected a little bit more out of the Lakers, but Boston's had a great season.
The way LA had ran over San Antonio, I just thought that it was going to be hands down a Lakers series, and it's a Celtics series all the way. They're going to, I think the Lakers they'll probably lose in seven up in Boston.
And we talked about this on the radio broadcast, and again, behindthestatsradio.com. If you've missed the show on 11:40 to 11:60 a.m. from 6 to 7 on Thursday, you can always check out the podcast on www.behindthestatsradio.com. But Scott, we talk about the Memorial Day Massacre. We've got to go back to that series since it is a Lakers Celtics final. You were 11 for 11. Yeah, Matt, thumbs up. You love that. Hey, your Lakers won that series, even though Scotty and the Celtics creamed them that day. Talk about that day for just a second. You said everything was going right for you, the zone, so to speak.
Well, first of all, do you want me to hold that?
We got
No,
you.
we got it.
That was 23 years ago, and to put that in perspective is like when I was playing, it was like Bob Cousy was to me like I am now to them, and it's like, oh my gosh, I thought he was ancient. And the way they played, you thought it was hilarious the way they played and everything. So they're probably looking at us the same way. But yeah, that was a great day for me. It was one of probably the best basketball day of my life when I went 11 for 11. That record could be broken. Let's see. The most likely person to break that record actually is Ray Allen. He could do it. He'd be one guy that could do it. Anybody could do it, but as far as a jump shooter, he'd be the one I think that could pull it off.
But you said, as your Celtic allegiance said, you told us during the interview on the radio, you hope that he goes 10 for 10, not 11 for 11.
Well,
right?
10 for 10 is all right. If anybody is going to be breaking, it'd be great if it was somebody from Boston, or maybe Luke Walton will come in and go 12 for 12. That'd be pretty cool too.
Now you're drafted out of Colorado, number 6 by the Kings overall in the draft. The Omaha Kansas City Kings at that point, and you guys were building a little bit, just like the Celtics did after Bird got there. But what was the key to the Kings during your time here into building into a playoff team?
Well, actually, you know what? I think Joe Axelson had a lot to do with it. He did a great job, I think, in the draft and building the team and getting Cotton Fitzsimmons in here as a coach, and just we had a really good chemistry going with myself, Otis Birdsong, Phil Ford, Sam Lacey was a great captain for the team. Uh, Bill Robenstein was on the team. Then Reggie King came along, and so we just had a really good nucleus of players that just kept getting better and better. And even the year we went we won the Midwest Division in '79, and in '81 we didn't have a great regular season record, but we got to the finals of the Western Conference. So it was a kind of a work in progress. I think if we could have stuck around, we might even had more success as a team. But things kind of broke up after that. It was the first year of free agency, so we all kind of went in different directions.
Talk about, if you would, your coaching influences. You mentor and coach kids now. ScottWedman.com if you're interested in having your kids go to clinics or camps, and talk about some of your influences that help you today in coaching and mentoring, and also training, tutoring kids in basketball. And you mentioned a couple of coaches, their kids, they've turned them over to you. And so talk about that, if you would, please.
Well, I'm not a great guy to talk to about my professional coaches. I mean, I had a great, I mentioned Cotton Fitzsimmons, what a great time we had in practice. But when I really get down to what they told me during games, and for 13 years, I don't recall anything they were telling me. Because I don't know. I think because when I was on the court, how they'll be barking things. And I've seen pictures where, Cotton has his arm around and he's talking to me. I don't remember what they were saying.
None of the Casey Jones or Bill Fitch wisdom resonates?
I just don't. The one halftime speech I remember was Bill Musselman when I was in Cleveland, and he had a military background. He told us some story about General Patton, and I remember, I was fired up and went out and had a heck of a second half. That's the only time I ever remember a coach motivate me to play, because I think back then, especially, as you guys can as we were kind of self-motivated. I mean, you're playing the NBA, you wanted to play as well as you could every game. And so I took bits and pieces, I think, from that. But probably the person I've learned the most from is a guy named Darren Mason. He's a local guy that coached at high school level. And we started doing camps about 15 years ago. And he is one of he's the best teacher I've ever seen of basketball. And I've really tried to emulate him and learn a lot from him. We actually, when I went to coach the Kansas City Knights here, I took him along as my assistant coach. And it was kind of funny. He was saying, well, he said, yeah, I'd love to do it with you. So we did it. And he says, well, what are we going to do? And I said, we are going to run the exact same stuff you've been running. He goes, you got to be kidding me. And I said, I've been in the NBA. I know what these guys need. I know what they would like. And what you do will work at that level.
But what you said, he's the best at teaching basketball. What makes him the best? Communication, one-on-one, what makes him the best?
Not only the communication, but also his knowledge of the game. It's kind of ironic. He was a football player as a young athlete in high school, never played organized basketball, but just, some people have a gift, and his gift is in coaching and communicating, but also breaking it down. And, it's one thing for me to see a fifth grader that can't shoot very well, and I can see a guy at the NBA level and see, well, they're a great shooter, but to know the steps in between to get to that point is a very progressive thing. And if you miss a step here and there, you can really blow it, and it won't be successful. And so I've kind of learned those steps from him. And so when I do go coach a minor league team or whatever, I utilize those same principles because I know without fail that it will work at any level, and even better at the pro level, but it takes a while to implement. I did it this past year up in Great Falls, Montana, and we got off to a slow start, and I think that before the team folded, we were 6-15, but we'd won our last 3 games, and we just beat the best team in the league, and things were just starting to develop, and I knew because it is sort of an intricate system, it's going to take a while. So I'd love to be able to do it at the next level, but at this point, it seems like I really enjoy working with the kids, and I have a 6th grade boys team and a 17-year-old boys team, and then I do my camps and clinics for boys and girls of all ages. So it seems like that's what I really enjoy, and that seems like what's been presenting itself. So that's what I'm doing.
Would you? You mentioned the next level. Would you want to coach more of a college team, like we'll just say UMKC, since your name was floated around, and some people will say you should have been hired, but that's a whole nother issue. But would you want to coach in a Knights, Great Falls, Montana type deal, or would you want to be at the college level, an assistant at the NBA level? What's your desire?
Part of that answer, it has to go with quality of life. I think I know enough now and have another business going. I don't want to really change too much of that unless it's really for a move up. But the problem with that is you have to pay your dues. So I know I'm kind of a fish out of water in a lot of respects. And when I interviewed for the UMKC job, Matt Brown, I think, is doing a great job there, and they're going to have a successful program. But I know that the people that interviewed me, they don't know enough about basketball to make a call where they want to base their job on how well I do. They need to have somebody with NCAA experience, and so I understand that. NBA, probably the NBDL would be the next level I would consider. The CBA, where I was last year, I think is just a little too unstable. So for me to go on, I think I'd want to go NBDL or NBA. And again, you have to start thinking about quality of life. It's now June, and I would be, you'd be involved in basketball all the time. And I've been there, done that. So in the right situation, I would probably do it. But I really enjoy where I live and what I do here in Kansas City. So it's going to be kind of a hard sell to get me out.
Well, Scott, we appreciate you joining us here at Chapels. For Dave O'Hara, Scott Wedman, I am Matt Folks. You can join us here at Chapels Sports Museum and Restaurant each week here in North Kansas City. You can check our website out at www.behindthestatsradio.com to see our guest list, see when we're going to be here at Chapels, and also hear a podcast of the radio broadcast. So until next week, we'll see you then.